everybody, it's Kenya. This topic is date night or dating in South Korea. I think a park is an old-fashioned and sweet way to take someone on a date. We don't do that much anymore, but Jill Scott once said, let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Why not? Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal elation, stimulation. Okay, don't get me started singing. Anyway, so really quickly, I'm going to try to go over with you tips and experiences that I had of dating in Korea. So dating in general as a foreigner, but also dating as a black woman in Korea. So number one, to answer your burning, dying question, are Korean men attracted to black women? Yes, 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 yes. So you will definitely meet Korean men who are interested in black women. And in Korea, again, they don't really do the whole racism thing the way America does it. So they may call you by the exact color of your skin, like literally. So they may call you beige. They would call someone like me brown. I had another female teacher tell me that her student had a serious crush on Beyonce. So he really liked brown skinned women. He was, really into that. Or they might call you black or whatever. But it's like anywhere else you go, you'll find people who are interested in black women. You'll find ones that's not. You'll find men that have a particular preference for what someone looks like, and then you'll just find people who just want to meet someone else who's interested in them and like them for who they are. So you get that in Korea as well, but it's a little bit more limited because remember, you're in Korea. And if you don't speak Korean, or if they don't speak English, then that narrows down your options. So when I first went to Korea and I was asking one of the other foreign teachers, she was a white woman who had been there for 3 years, and she was saying, yeah, the pickings are slim around here because typically if you're looking for another foreigner, you either have English teachers or you have military. Now I'm going to get into that later, but the options are slim. Now if you are willing to date a Korean, then it's kind of hit or miss because they date very differently in Korea. Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else in terms of dating generally in Korea. Chivalry. They don't really do the whole chivalry thing. They don't do things like open doors. And again, I'm speaking generally. I'm not saying every single Korean man or woman does this, but generally men don't open doors for women or things like that. But then they have other things where couples oftentimes, okay, so here's one of the things that was kind of goofy, cute and adorable, but yet goofy and annoying at the same time, is couples dress up alike. They wear the same t-shirts, they wear the same phone covers, they wear the same shoes, they dress up alike, especially the younger ones. And you'd also find men carrying women's purses for them when they're out and about or when they're shopping. So anyway, that's just a quick roundup, I guess, a quick snapshot of what dating life is in Korea. But now it is story time. So I want to share with you three dating stories I experienced in South Korea. Okay, so I am going to start with my Korean date. So my first Korean date, and I actually met him at another first of mine, which was speed dating. Anyway, it was a group of these foreigners who they do this annual fundraiser, and it was my first time ever hearing about it, and it was speed dating. And so I was like, okay, let's go, let's have fun. So I went and I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. And I think I had so much fun because I went in with the intention just to have a good time and meet these people for the 3 minutes that we get to talk to each other. But so when I first walked in, it was at this this popular bar downtown. And when I first walked in, I saw this Korean guy talking to one of his friends, and I thought, wow, he's kind of cute, right? And I saw him noticing me as well, but we never said anything to each other. We just kind of looked and kind of spoke and kept it moving. And so whatever, I'm meeting all these cool, interesting guys. It's kind of fun. They gave us like a list of questions that we could ask, or we could ask our own questions. And I think he was like one of the last 3 people that I met with. And when he sat down, he was like, oh, finally. And so I'm blushing and we're talking, and he ends up telling me that he likes to sing. And so I say, "Oh, can you sing for me?" And so without hesitation, he starts to sing, and he has like this, one of those like smoky, graspy voices that just sounds even better when you put it to music, like when he starts singing. And I can't even remember what song he sang. I think it was a Bruno Mars song maybe. But he had a beautiful voice, and he could also play the guitar. So after the after the speed dating thing was over, and they say, tell us who you're interested in and blah blah blah. If there's a match, then we'll exchange your information, yada yada yada. Well, for the rest of the night, the guy was sticking to me like glue.
Aww.
And to be honest, it had been a long time, honey, a long time since I had dated, because I think I was in Korea for about a year or a year and a half at that point. Because the culture is so conservative, they don't really do a lot of the casual flirting that we do here. Typically, you won't make like eye contact with people just on the streets, or like you won't smile or nod. Like there's none of that. So I was missing all of that, honey, for like the first year of being in Korea. That's just not how their culture interacts between the sexes. Okay, it's just not what they do. But anyway, so we ended up spending the rest of the evening at the bar together, and then we went out to eat later that night, and then we hung out at another bar or something like that. But he was a really sweet guy. He liked poetry, liked to read poetry. He loved singing to me. He played the guitar, but like, so all these sweet things that was just adorable, right? Okay, wait for it. Yeah, so here's the thing. Typical guy stuff started to come through. Like I would call him or text him, and then he would take a day or two to respond, and I'm like, what's going on? But if he would call or text me and I took 1 minute to respond, where are you? What's going on? Are you mad at me? Da 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 da. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And again, as some of you know, I'm in my 30s. Whoop, whoop. But I think he was maybe like 28. And I'm not even sure if that was his actual age, because in Korea, you turn one at the beginning of the year. So I don't wait a whole 12 months. I turn one at the beginning of the year. So that's how Korea is. So they average at anywhere from a year and a half to like 2 years older than American age. But a lot of that silly stuff started to play in. And then his job, he was an engineer that worked on a ship or something like that, and he like traveled to all these different places. Anyway, he was getting ready to leave like within a couple of weeks or something like that. And so like that never ended up going anywhere. And he was young, so, and he was always away from home. So when he was home, he liked to hang out with his friends, go out and drink, and I'm not really a big drinker like that. So I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to be extremely short-lived. But it was not, it was nice to have the experience, my first Korean date. Okay, so story number two. Again, like I said, when you're dating foreigners, it's between other teachers and military. So a lot of times we are warned not to date the military. People told me that before I left for Korea. People told me that once I got to Korea. You always hear about those stories about military men living two lives. They have their families here in the US, and then they go out and kick it and do whatever they want to do when they're abroad. And yes, honey, yes, it is the all in all truth. I had a really bad experience because the dude was a straight up liar. So I met this guy in one of the hip hop clubs in downtown Daegu, and he's asking me. I flirted with him, so I did get his attention, but he was like the finest guy in the club. I have to say that. I have to admit that he was like the finest guy in the club. And so I flirted with him, got his attention. I can be really playful, so I didn't mean anything by it, but when I got his attention, he asked me to dance, and that was fine. I thought we were going to dance, and that was it. It turned out that he starts asking me all these questions on the dance floor while the music is pumping loud. I'm just like, why are we trying to have a conversation on the dance floor? But he asked me, am I married? Do I have kids? Blah, 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 blah. So I, in turn, was asking him questions, and I asked him if he had any kids. He had four. OMG. So immediately I'm like, wow, were you married? And he was like, yeah, I was married 2 years ago and all this other stuff. And so, like, we ended up hanging out and going on a date a couple of times. And then I find out this mofo was not married. Like, he said he was married 2 years ago as if he was divorced, right? This dude is still married. He, just had a baby recently that was like maybe 2 years old or younger than two. And his excuse was, I don't know what she's doing and she doesn't know what I'm doing. No, that's not how that's not how it works. First of all, keep it real. If you know that you're handling your business that way, just be honest with the person so they know what's up. I'm not interested in dating married men. That whole thing was just a mess, and I quickly kept it moving with that. So the third story, date night, that I would like to share with you is so the military guy was actually my age, and that was another thing that was refreshing about him, that he was also in his 30s, but he was messy, so I had to leave that alone. So this guy, another American, he was a teacher. He was from Portland. I had never met anyone from Portland before. And he was a really sweet guy. I think, yeah, he was of mixed race. So I think his mom was black and his dad was Italian. Really sweet guy. Very, I guess, this is what I've heard. I don't know personally, but I guess typical Portland culture, and that he's kind of like this hippie, kind of all love, everything's all good kind of guy. And we went out a couple of times, but really we just didn't hit it off. Like, I don't really have anything negative to say about him, but it was just like some of the things that he was into and he liked, it just didn't mesh well with the things that I was into and that I liked, and so had to wrap that up too, right? So those are the three date night stories that I wanted to share with you about my experience in dating in Korea. Now, I will say that, I I don't know. I didn't really jump into the dating scene a whole lot, just because I'm the type of person that doesn't really like to be bothered with dating. Like, I really don't like dating that much. But I do know several women, men and women, some of them really had real relationships. I know several other women, other foreigner women, and several black women who, got there and was like, boom, they had them a boo thing. Or I know a woman who ended up marrying another foreigner who was from, I think, Nigeria, somewhere in Africa, I'm not sure. And they got married. So there are a lot of possibilities, especially if you are intent on dating. There is a dating scene. I'll put it that way. And that was my story time, date night, black women dating in Korea, or dating in Korea in general. Yeah, let me know. Let's have a conversation. What do you think about dating abroad, or dating outside of your race, or dating in Korea? Have you done it? Let me know. So don't forget, like the video, share the video, and I'll see you on the flip side. Deuces.